Welcome back on Kansas Sports Chatter. You can check everything out on YouTube for all the full interviews and also past shows, including this one with Mac Moore. He's with Lawrence Sports. Hey, Mac, appreciate you coming on the show. First of all, before we dive into some of those Lawrence area teams and athletes, like Lawrence Sports, I've loved what I've seen so far from it. Kind of describe how it got started and what you guys provide.
Yeah, Lawrence Sports is just kind of a passion project of mine. I've spent the last 4 years as the Acacia covered reporter for East and Southeast Kansas, and now I'm making this transition to a local site that covers, in-depth, comprehensive coverage of the two high schools in the area. We're starting out right now with Lawrence High and Free State. We're hoping potentially we can expand it to a few other of the high schools that are in Douglas County. But for me, I really have a passion for the coverage that is more than just the gamer. It's about features. It's about having photos, video, all the multimedia stuff. I think anybody who's seen my work for Keisha covered over the last few years kind of knows what I end up bringing, where I really go in depth. I bring a lot of passion to telling those stories and making sure that they're told well, in print, but also getting the perfect photo and a lot of photos, getting the photos of as many teams as I can. I don't want to miss any possible moment when I'm out there, at these big events, particularly in the postseason. And, I think a lot of the types of coverage that I bring, it really works even better on a local level, where I was kind of spread pretty thin, covering 60, 70 plus schools in my coverage area in the previous job, and in this one where I'm focused. I'm a Lawrence High grad, so I've lived most of my life in Lawrence, and being able to bring that type of coverage specifically to these two high schools and all of the teams, I think is really big for the area. And I'm hoping it continues to grow in a way where it's not just me being a one-man band doing all the stuff, but as we start adding more freelancers, and right now we're working with the KUJ school to add in some coverage from students as well. I think we can bring a comprehensive coverage that this area hasn't seen for high school sports.
Yeah, off to a really good start. Love what I'm seeing. You got to check out lawrencesports.com. And you talk about your coverage area. Man, there's a really special tennis player there in Lawrence that you want to talk about.
Yeah, right now, Free State girls tennis has Eli Ward is a freshman who's just come in and immediately is kind of taken over the conversation for top singles competitor in 6A. Undefeated, went into the Sunflower League tournament this last week, and you never know quite what ends up happening with especially with some of the younger players. And this year it was a lot of younger players, a lot of the upper class talent that was ended up winning last year, graduated, and this year you're looking at it and you kind of know with who they face in the regular matches throughout the year. And a lot of tennis, you can look at the numbers and kind of tell, okay, this one's kind of got it unlocked, but then different matchups, different things. So you don't quite know until you see it and you see them get those victories and get multiple victories over, those same competitors. But Ward came into the Sunflower League and just ended up being able to handle business. Had her toughest match in the semifinals. She went semifinals and finals against two Olathe Northwest competitors, and started with the senior Heidi Balos, who she's had a pretty phenomenal career. And if you've ever seen her play tennis, it's pretty crazy. She's kind of smaller, even compared to some of the other players, and she has this shot where the racket kind of starts at her neckline, and she comes up and just like you can't even imagine the power she ends up getting
Yeah.
on it. So she can hit some winners, and she tested Ward, got 4 games off her. That's the most anybody has got on her in a match this year in a set. But Ward still gets the job done, wins 8-4. But it also showed that Ward is prepared. She's prepared for any type of game that she's going to go up against. And I think the thing that stood out to me and stood out to most people watching is it didn't matter whether it was the first match of the day or it was that last one. Her emotions don't waver. She's a freshman that is just calm. She's in the moment. She's not going to get down on herself if she misses a point. She's not going to get too hyped up if she hits a winner. And she's able to get that victory, and she wins the Sunflower League title. That's first one for a little bit for Free State. They had I believe that was 3 years ago. Kinley Van Pelt went undefeated, and hers was another rise. She wasn't a freshman, but she came in, played for the first time as a sophomore, and ended up winning the state title. She ended up having some injury issues that made it where she didn't end up playing either her junior or senior year, but she just had that phenomenal sophomore year. And right now, Ward's hoping that she can kind of repeat history and have that first year just go through undefeated and bring home a state title. And she's hoping to do that heading into this regional this weekend. Will be the start of that push to make it state and then try to bring home that state championship. But she said she looks at Kinley Van Pelt as a role model, and she's hoping she can be a little Kinley out there and also bring home that undefeated record and do that. So she's having a phenomenal year, and Free State has enough players that they'll try to stay in the team race depending on how things shake out. It's always about the seeding and kind of where people go. Cammie Lee is somebody who's been at state a few years in a row for them as their number 2 singles player. And if they can get both, definitely one of their doubles, but maybe 2, you get those 2 teams out there, that can end up helping bring them some points on the backside of the bracket at state. So it would be important to see where they finish at regionals, but definitely right now, unless somebody can step up, there's obviously a few people that in the EKL that might be able to kind of challenge her when they end up facing. I think it's Blue Valley West and Blue Valley will be the 2 teams that will be not at Sunflower League, that'll be at that regional in Gardner-Edgerton where Free State is. But then, down the line, it's looking a lot like it'll be Ward, and that'll be very interesting because, a lot of domination by the Shawnee Mission East and the Blue Valley, west of the world. Now Olathe Northwest has kind of jumped in, and Free State, maybe back in like 2000, and then they had, for about a decade, they would pick their spots, and then not as many for a while until Kinley kind of came in. And so now possible 2 state champions in like a 3-year span would be pretty good for that Free State program.
Mac, really good stuff. If everyone wants to see what you're doing out of Lawrence, where do they need to go?
Go to lawrencesports.com and check it out. And then also, I wish I could rattle off all the different platforms. They're all slightly different because that's just what ends up happening. But I guarantee you go to Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, type in Lawrence Sports, and that should pop up right there for you. And you'll see a lot of great content for these Lawrence and Free State teams.
Mac, appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
That is Mac Moore with Lawrence Sports, and that'll do it for this segment. We'll take a break, come back with more Kansas Sports Chat.